Let us now talk about naming and symbols of elements. How are symbols of elements derived? How are they written? So as far as the naming is concerned, you know that some of the names sound rather strange, and they are actually so because they have been derived from Latin and Greek names of these elements. They are the Latin and Greek names which we have been using. Let's look at hydrogen. Hydrogen, the first letter is used to write the symbol of hydrogen. So for the first letter, that means we require the first letter. Oxygen, O, phosphorus, P, sulfur, S. But then you have sodium. What do you do here? The name is derived from the Latin word natrium. So, the symbol of sodium is not the first letter alone. Look at potassium. Potassium is derived from the Latin word kalium. Potassium is K, but sodium is not N. Sodium is written as Na. Now this means that the second letter has come into play, because obviously there are only 26 letters in the alphabet, but you know that we have more than 100, in fact much more than 100 when it comes to elements. So when you are using the naming procedure, you have to remember that the first letter is used for some of them. For the rest, you have to use two letters. But what is the rule? Here it seems that the first and the second letters have been used. Well, that is not the case. Let me explain further how the second letter is used. Let's look at zinc. Zinc, you would say it should be Z or Zi. But look at the name. It is Zn, as I told you earlier. Now look at the 5 elements which start with C, which I have written down here. Carbon, calcium, cobalt, copper, cadmium. The first one, carbon, is obviously the first letter C. So the symbol is C. And the second one you would say, well, the first letter has been used up, so you write Ca, calcium. But that's not the reason. Cobalt, because the first letter is C and the second letter is O, which hasn't been used up. That's what you would say. And so it becomes CO. But that's not the reason. Copper, like I told you earlier, we are using the Latin word, and you have Latin, Greek, we use these words. It really doesn't make a difference as long as you know how to name them. This is Cu, again the first and the second letters. But that's not the reason. Because if you look at cadmium, what has happened here? C and D. Here it was C, then Ca, then Co, then Cu. But then what's happened here? There is a confusion. Let me explain this, and this is very simple to understand. When I write carbon, it is the first letter. But when I write calcium, it is not the first and the second letter that I am using. It is the first letter along with that letter which is emphasized on first when we pronounce the word calcium. What do you emphasize on? Calcium. Calcium. So, C and A is the letter which you are emphasizing on when you pronounce the word. So, it becomes Ca. Look at this one, cobalt. It is cobalt. So, The B is not really spoken in a stretched manner. You stretch the O, cobalt, right? So the first letter which is emphasized on after the initial letter here C is O, cobalt. So it becomes Cu. And here also cuprum. So it is the U which you are emphasizing on, and that's why this becomes Cu. Cuprum is copper, that is Cu. The symbol is Cu. And now let's pronounce cadmium. Can you pronounce cadmium without saying the D? A is there, but the D is more pronounced, cadmium. Without the D, you will not be able to move to the next syllable. So cadmium. So it's cadmium. So that's why we have C, D. I hope this has been a useful lesson for you. Remember the rules. First letter or the Latin or Greek names. And the third most important rule, the first and the letter which is used next in the symbol is the letter which is emphasized on first after you speak the first letter. So in cadmium it is not A but the D, because D is more pronounced. In cobalt, B is not as pronounced as O, so cobalt, O, C-O. Cuprum, P is not as pronounced as U, so Cu. And similarly you have, I'm sure you understand this, zinc. You have the A, but the N has to be pronounced to get to the C. You can't say zinc. Zinc. You have to say zinc, because you will not reach the C if you don't pronounce the N properly. So N is more elongated as compared to the I. Is that clear? I hope you enjoyed this particular lesson. And if you did, please do subscribe to my channel and share with your friends.